I had a session this week with a client that I've been working with for about the last 4 months, going on to 5 now. And it was at the top of our hour and we were wrapping up. I had gotten, flowed through a beautiful conversation, discussion, therapy session. And in that last 10 minutes, as we're getting ready to close, he says to me, "Do you think I'm making progress? Do you think I'm getting something out of this?" And I said, "Do you think you're getting something out of this?" And he said, I feel like I've gathered all the tools I need now, but I haven't started the job yet." And I loved that analogy. I said, "All right, that's pretty powerful. Having the tools is a big thing. Gathering the tools, realizing you have each of the necessary tools. I mean, that kind of preparation is sometimes more than 50% of the whole thing, right? At least equally as important as the phase where we're using the tools and doing the job is that recognizing, developing, collecting, preparing, planning all of those tools for that job. So pretty big accomplishment. And I just loved how he said that. I think that's a beautiful metaphor, way to envision that. A lot of times in therapy, I've worked with other therapists that I've helped to train or supervise at different points in time. And I guess I'll say, like, from the point of the therapist and the client, we can fall into a place of not having the full gravity of realization for appreciation. There we go. Appreciation, validation for that prep work. And that is therapeutic work. That's the transformative work, really, that we're doing. Because, if you say to me, "Marin, I've got all the tools now, I'm ready to go, I've got my tool belt, my bags, time to do the job." At that point in time, probably I'm saying, "All right, you're done with therapy. You don't need me. I'm not going to sit down in a folding chair watching you do the job," right? As I'll just sit here and watch you do this work and I'll supervise. You're ready to do it on your own once you realize you've got those tools and you're ready to go. So that usually can, or sometimes can, be a very clear indication of you've met your treatment goals here. Yeah, pretty big stuff. And, a lot of the conversations we've had where he has, it's taken a bit to get to that point where he was questioning, am I making progress? Because there was a big sense of stuckness, indecision, ambiguity, fork in the road type of stuff. And that takes conversations, that takes deep dive, that takes surfacing of deeply ingrained programming, beliefs, values. It's not as simple on surface level of, well, just choose option A or B, let's go, right? And it's all deserving of that deep dive that he has really been doing and putting in the work and been guided in to get to a place of there needed to be some kind of rectifying or realization of there was almost this question at one point on, are we taking option A or B for this person, of, is option A a deserving option? Do not only do I deserve that, but values wise, is that a deserving path? And am I deserving of the emotional fulfillment, nourishment, etc., that I identify now as an unmet need and that I crave, that I believe option A may be in alignment with me seeking out those things. So a lot goes into that and should and deserves to go into that, honoring, recognizing that. This deservingness and surfacing of our beliefs, holding them to the light to be able to make more refined decisions on some of the things that may be more programmed and no longer are in alignment with us on a deeper soul level, and our own understanding of what is meaningful and what's a life worth living, versus what is in, I'm thinking of like one of those little grab bags you get at a kiddie party or something like that, where you can't tell what's in it, and a kid will like turn it upside down, shake it out, and have all those little gadgets spill out on the table. Like, oh, okay, you know what? Actually, I don't, I don't want this in my grab bag anymore. And some of the upbringing, cultural type of things that trickle into that we need to sift through and sort out and go, oh, okay, I see this is in here. It has been driving how I move about in my life, and it actually is not alignment with who I am anymore. And also when we realize something's missing from that grab bag, and when it is, and we notice that, I think this is pulling into the, well, I want that, but why wasn't in there to begin with? And do I deserve that? Right? Is my worthiness more connected to financial security and having some proof of that, and and doing whatever I need to do in my life to maintain that? Or is it a stand-up choice and a solid, honorable choice to choose a path that I think is going to lead down emotional nourishment for me? Do I deserve that? On that note, this week I have been getting this song coming through strongly. I'm like, I cannot stop singing it. On like Sunday night, I think it came through in the middle of the night or in a dream or something like that. And it was a Coldplay song. Look at the stars, look how they shine for you and everything that you do. And it was all yellow. And I had told a friend about that song is coming through. And then, oh my goodness, the rest of the week, I've had like at least 5 sessions, if not more than that, where the theme that is coming through is solar plexus stuff, the yellow chakra, third one up, right? All about self-honoring. It's also called the power chakra, right? Standing in your power, being self-empowered, being assertive, being a clear communicator, speaking truth from a place of that power center that is honoring deeply our worthiness and our deservingness, which is a very important chakra for so many reasons. Like, we all deserve to be able to feel that way in ourselves and to stand in our power. And I think some of you may already, as I say that, have a little bit like, ooh, are we talking about conflict, being assertive in order to, you need assertiveness because you're coming against interpersonal conflicts with people. And it's like, no, actually, being so centered in your worthiness and being self-honoring, being a clear communicator, being able to boundary set on what feels good to us and what doesn't, creates beautiful, nourishing relationships. So you need that, not because you're in an unhealthy relationship and you've got to step out of it and stand up for yourself. If you want to have a deeply fulfilling, nourishing, reciprocal, built on a solid foundation of I trust you to trust yourself, I know that you're able to share where you're at when you're there at any point in time. All other relationships are built on the solid foundation of relationship to self. And this all comes from having that glowing, balanced, yellow solar plexus energy. So I just wanted to share that. I love how the universe shows up with these themes, and this happens repeatedly. So I'm sure it won't be the last recording where I'm talking about this. And sometimes that in its own right is signs to me of boom, 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 boom. Look at this pattern, Miranda, this week. Look at this theme. This is coming through for almost everybody who sits down with you this week, and also for my own self in a certain way, like reflected back, and that mirroring that happens in the healing dynamic. So this is a sign. We also want you to share it in a recording, because these are not the only people who need to hear this information. Oh my goodness. I just watched this video back as I'm doing the editing and getting ready to be able to post it and publish it. And so then I'm like, okay, I need to record a tiny bit more. I just want y'all to notice how many orbs show up through this recording. Amazing. I'm like, oh, feeling so loved and divinely supported, and like validation when I see those orbs. It just is like for you to be able to see that, right? To feel that. Yes, 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 yes. And on that note, I've had a couple people who see me who also watch videos who have made comments about the lighting changes and the orbs, and how the lighting will really shift. Like it gets bright and then it gets like orangey yellowish on point. And I'm like, in the office when I'm recording, I am not changing the lights. I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm not seeing my lights flicker or shift, but that is spirit. That is being used as a underlining, a bolding of what I just said, right? Just like a validation for y'all to see. Spirit uses lighting a lot with me particularly, but in general, I imagine many of you have seen that happen. Actually, at my last place of employment, I had a couple coworkers there who were all about and down with having the spiritual type of conversations with me. So like they know we can go there with those conversations. And after I left, some of them reached out and said, I miss my lights flickering as you're not here anymore, having those conversations with me, or having the spiritual energy just highlight what we're talking about. So I wanted to point that out and say like, and so beautiful. I love it. I'm feeling loved and supported, and I'm just in awe of how the divine shows up, of how spirit supports me and makes that evident. Just I'm going through kind of my own additional ascension over the last couple of weeks, with my spiritual gifts blooming even more than they have over the first 7 years, and I'm just blown away. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh, can it be this good? It's beautiful. I love it. And that song, Let the Sun Shine Down on Me, is on my mind right now. And I'm hearing spirit say, you don't even know. You don't even know how good it can get. Just watch. And I say, yes, please, I will watch. Let's find out. And quick little note on the end too. I put this in the comments on some of the videos, but I want to say it here in case some of y'all don't read the descriptions. Any client story that I share, I always make sure to take any identifying information out of that. And I just share kind of like the meaning without any details that could identify that individual. And even when I do that, I still make sure that my client gives me their permission to share the meaning, the theme, just out of making sure to maintain the highest level of respect, integrity, confidentiality, all that. So I just want y'all to be aware that I'm very thoughtful of that. Plus, in addition to I get the permission even though I don't share identifying information in these little snippets.